What if DOC never got into that car accident? What if Ice Cube didn't leave N.W.A? What if the game never leaves G Unit? What if Teddy Riley never moves to Virginia? What if we got that J. Cole and Kendrick album? What if the RZA would have never had that flood? How would the hip hop world sound today? Welcome to Hip Hop What Is, the podcast where we dive into the biggest what could have beens in hip hop history. From iconic album delays to game-changing partnerships that never happened, we reimagine the culture we love and explore its alternative paths. And you are now at Hip Hop What Ifs.
The person I was with at the time, she was like, she asked me when I came home from the studio, she asked me, she was like, you heard anything about Eazy-E being in the hospital? I was like, no, why? She was like, my friend just told me it's a rumor here in the hospital with AIDS. I was like, what? I was like, no, I ain't heard no that. No. So like a few days, like I think like 2 days went by. I'm sitting up watching TV on MTV News, bro. Comes on the news.
Kurt Loder.
Yeah, on MTV News. I'm like, son, this is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, phone get to blowing up, everybody calling me. I'm like, this is crazy. So that's how we basically found out, you know what I'm saying? And it was just crazy. So after that, after everything was said and done, we get a call. First of all, we hear that everybody on Ruthless get dropped.
Welcome back to Hip Hop What Ifs, the show where we discuss the what ifs of hip hop history. Kyle, how you doing, my brother?
Doing good, man. Glad to be back on here talking more hip hop, man. You know how we do it.
Favorite thing, man.
For sure.
To do. Like we've been through this. We true to this. It's not. It's in us, not on us. When it comes to this.
Oh man, listen. We have lived through some of the greatest eras of hip hop, and no disrespect to the current era, but the eras that we came from, very few can touch.
Yeah, I mean, I gangsters back then would rob people, and you didn't put it on Instagram.
Man, that had to be, and I don't even want to call it one of the dumbest things, but because somebody else is going to do something else dumb.
Oh, you said somebody, he got the bar there, but somebody will go over that bar.
Yeah, somebody's going to, they'll supersede him. I mean, just give it time. But maybe by the time this comes out,
he said somebody will supersede it.
Somebody else.
Well, but before we get into our topic, make sure you hit us on the voicemail 314-649-3113. Give us your thoughts on all the topics on hip hop. What is? Go back into the archives, dig in there. Shout out to everybody digging in the crates and checking out all the older episodes. And glad you joined us. So this is Hip Hop What Ifs. What if Eazy-E did not pass away when he did of the HIV virus? What do you think? What do you got? What do you think? It's just offhand.
That's a very interesting topic and thing to think about because as I mentioned, at that era I was very young, but really just growing into hip hop at the time. Not when Eazy-E passed away, but how I came to Eazy-E in 1987, and I was in middle school, and man, it was so Eazy-E literally and figuratively was a cult hero for me and my boy. I'm gonna tell you how we found him. In fact, I didn't even find him. My boy Jay Fresh found him. He was in this record store in our hometown of Florence, South Carolina, called Ray's. And Ray's is kind of like a mom and pop record store. And they had this huge bin, and in the bin they had tapes. They didn't have CDs because CDs wasn't out in '87, but they had these tapes. And in these tapes, in the bin, the tapes were being sold for like $2. And the tape that was on the top was a cassette tape of N.W.A. and the Posse. And it's just, the dudes just sitting on I don't know, I think they were sitting outside a warehouse or something like that. But it looked kind of wild. So my boy Jay Fresh bought the tape for $2. And so he didn't know anything about them, anything.
Just all y'all is going off specs and looking at the cover. Sight
unseen, unheard. I mean, because think about it. I mean, it's 87. That ain't a lot of money. $2 ain't a lot of money. So if you waste it and it ain't good, then, but we used to buy music like that all the time. And again, I'm in middle school, so I'm probably like 8th grade, headed to 9th grade, somewhere around that time. So, hip hop was, I can't even call it hip hop. It was rap. Rap was blowing up at the time. Right. So long story short, he buys the tape and maybe a couple of days later at school, he's like, yo, you got to come to the crib. I got this new Eazy-E tape. Eazy-E, he's like NWA and the Posse with Eazy-E. And I was like, who the hell is Eazy-E? And he's like, man, you got to come listen. So I went to his crib, and I'd never heard cussing like that before on a record. I mean, and I of course I had heard Luke and 2 Live Crew, but this kind of cussing was different. And and so I was like, yo, you need to let me get a dub. He's like, nah, man, I ain't gonna. I said, man, I'm gonna knock you out if you don't give me a dub. Long story short, he gives me a dub, and then we become fans. And then 88, I want to say probably the top part of 88, Eazy-E drops, Easy Does It.
Does it?
And man, listen, D, when I tell you, I didn't know where Compton, California was. Well, they just said Compton, so I didn't know where Compton was. But everything that he said on every record, we believed. So, and we had heard about gang, but we're in Florence, South Carolina. We ain't know nothing about the Bloods or the Crips. So for all we knew, they were all together. So, and they were the best of friends. They used to play at the park. So we didn't know, but like every story, every person that got beat up, every person that got slapped, we believed it. So Eazy-E literally was this mythical figure, and Compton was this quote unquote magical place for us. And again, we didn't have the internet, so there was nobody to tell us any different. And so I just got hooked. I got hooked, man. And then subsequently, okay, Eazy Does It comes out early 88. By September, October-ish of 88, N.W.A. drops their debut album Straight Outta Compton. And we were out of there by that time. We were like bona fide fans.
People, it's like it was this guy with this high-pitched voice saying the craziest stuff on wax.
Crazy.
Like crazy stuff. Like I don't know if people can understand the ridiculousness and I mean this at the highest level of She Swallowed It.
Mm-hmm.
And him on doing the ad libs on there. Like I think Eazy was an innovator because he would be like, what can we push to the extreme to just get people talking?
Right.
Because Ice Cube's the MC of the group. MC Ren's kind of he's a flowist. He's kind of more laid back, and Dre's your producer, and Yella too as well. And when I say more, Yella's your DJ Yella,
and Dre's your producer.
Dre is your producer mostly. I mean, even though he DJ'd some, but mostly it was Yella.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sitting there, and you like, did Eazy-E really just say that about somebody's mom?
Yeah, man, it was and that's the thing that was always interesting about Eazy-E. You would never mistake him for Chuck D or KRS-One. But the thing about it was that he spoke with such reverence and such power to where he made his shit sound believable. Mm-hmm. Even if you had no reason to believe him, he made it sound believable. And, the rest of the NWA crew was hyping him up. And then, slowly but surely we started to learn more about him. Because I'll be honest, D, even back then, we didn't even know how old Eazy-E was. Like, there's one song where he references being born in 73, but we didn't know. And to be honest, we didn't care. But there was still a mystery about him. I didn't, as I got a little older and started to learn about gangs, I didn't know if he was a Blood or a Crip because they were all black. So NWA was a very neutral color as far as when they would hit the stage. So unless you were from LA and knew where they were from, different parts of the city, for somebody on the outside, and especially somebody who was a civilian, we didn't know, but we didn't care either because we didn't know how bad it was. But I mean, like hearing a song like you mentioned, as far as like them pushing the envelope, hearing a song like "Fuck the Police," people don't understand how huge that was. Like, they talked about police brutality, and it's something that we knew was very prevalent in the black neighborhoods, not just in LA, but all across the country. And it was very much so a cautionary tale as to what was going to happen a few years later with Rodney King in '92 and the riots. But yeah, Eazy-E, man, was truly one of a kind. He had his issues with Dre and Suge, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But Eazy-E, man, was truly one of a kind and a hip hop legend and pioneer. I mean, because that Straight Outta Compton album is still it was a game changer. It truly was a game changer because nothing sonically had sounded like that, and they were so raw. And NWA called themselves the world's dangerous posse or the world's most dangerous crew for a reason.
And we thought they were scary. We thought America thought
the name fit. I mean, if you make a song like "Fuck the Police," yeah, you really should be feared, because you don't care about nothing at that point. And even just the name NWA, niggas with attitude.
Yeah, like that. Like, I mean, what?
I mean, like, D, I couldn't tell you how many. You weren't cool if you didn't have an NWA T-shirt or NWA hat, because for young teenagers like myself at that time, they represented for us, even though we didn't have a clue as to what they were talking about.
Yeah, and Eazy was just something else, man. And people, and I mean, when did you realize? And we'll go into the what ifs in a second. When did you realize? I guess I didn't. I don't think I realized that he didn't write his own stuff until basically No Vaseline. When but I didn't know that he wasn't writing his stuff until then.
Yeah, it wasn't until he said it in a song. But I mean, like, to be honest, it didn't matter because, again, you never confused him with a supreme lyricist. So
no, not at all. You're not.
If Rakim had said, "I don't write my rhymes," or if LL had said he didn't write his rhymes, then that would have been something. Because you couldn't. There was a couple of things that you couldn't do in rap back then. You couldn't. You had to write your own rhymes, and you couldn't bite. Meaning you couldn't take anybody else's style. You had to be original. You had to be yourself. And if you just look at the landscape of what rappers looked and sounded like, you take a look at a group, just N.W.A. Then you look at Sir Mix-a-Lot and his crew. Then you can come back east to Run DMC, Big Daddy Kane, LL. Everybody's different. MC Light, Salt and Pepper. Nobody from that era you can say, oh, he's kind of like, because you would never look at Big Daddy Kane and say he's like LL, or you would never look at LL and say, oh, he's like Chuck D. So everybody was different. And in that era of hip hop, or excuse me, rap, you had to be yourself. You couldn't be anybody else. If people felt like you were trying to be somebody else, they call you a biter, and being called a biter, it would literally and figuratively end your career.
And it would end it so fast, man.
So fast. Like, it was the 80s version of getting canceled.
It was the kiss. Let's jump in some of these what ifs I have, man.
Okay.
So Eazy doesn't pass. Do we get this NWA reunion album that we found out? I mean, we had heard about it, especially around the time that I thought the NWA was going to even come back. At one point, I feel like weren't they going to like Snoop when they did that song "Hello." It was Ren, Dre, and Cube on a song called "Hello" for people that may not know. And I think, and there was another song that was like 2 singles, and I think Snoop was supposed to join and take Eazy's place. Was originally what I thought. But do you think that reunion would have still happened? We saw it in Straight Outta Compton. They were actually working to come back as a group. Do you think that would have happened fully if he wouldn't have passed?
I think it could have happened. I think the only thing that would have prevented it from happening would have been the business aspect of it. Because even in right before Eazy died, people talked about how he reconciled with Dre and reconciled with Cube, and I don't know that time frame. I'll put it like this: I don't think Eazy-E was on his deathbed when they reconciled. I think they had reconciled far beyond that because they were running into each other in LA. But for that reunion to happen, had Eazy lived, the business would have had to been right, meaning that Dre wasn't going to do anything that involved, Dre and Cube probably weren't going to do anything that involved Jerry Heller. And, Eazy-E wasn't going to do anything that had Suge's involvement. So, those two camps, those two people really were hated by, Cube and Dre and Eazy-E. So I could definitely see it happening as long as, you know, the business was right. And I mean, ultimately that's what, you know, broke up the group, you know, bad business practices, people not getting paid. I think that was the downfall. But outside of that, if the money was right and the business, everything was straight and Eazy-E was still alive, I think it happens.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about it is that, like you said, the money thing is probably going to be the biggest hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
I would even think they probably would have recorded music and it may not ever came out because the
That's
business
possible.
wasn't right.
Yeah, until that was straight, I don't think you see those guys going in the booth. And it's unfortunate because like you had to pick a side. You know, Eazy-E was on one side, Ren was, you know, kind of in the middle, Yellow was kind of in the middle, Dre and Cube were on their side. So it was, and you know, Dre and Cube weren't cool for a while either. So the thing that always struck me about Eazy-E and N.W.A, no, those dudes strike me as guys who were friends. I don't know how long they were friends, but they strike me as not just guys who were just rapping in a group together. So, and Eazy, and to a man, everybody's, you know, gives Eazy for being the catalyst for bringing it all together. I mean, he had the money, you know, from the streets to put NWA together. But yeah, I think if the business was straight, I think there definitely would have been a reunion.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing about is interesting about it though is what would the Suge factor have been in all this as well?
Well, I guess it would depend. I guess it would depend on whatever business Suge had with Dre, because, you know, when Dre left the group, he went to Death Row, and then he was with Death Row for a while, and then he left Death Row, by all accounts, empty-handed, and started Aftermath. So it just depends. I could, if that reunion would have happened, I think it probably would have been Dre after Death Row, but still having no financial ties to Suge. And same for Eazy. Eazy was still, as far as I'm concerned, I think Eazy was still contractually still doing business with Jerry Heller up until the time he passed.
Yeah, that is, and the thing of, if you think about it with him even more, I could see him just trying to throw a wrench. And you got to think at the same time, Pac is going to get out of jail. I mean, he's already out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
He's already out of jail. Snoop is kind of teetering over there a little bit. Feels like a death row. Does he get to get in Pac to diss NWA then? I mean, this is so many crazinesses that could have happened in that scenario. Because I think it, and I wonder if Eazy, because was Dre already off of when Eazy-E died? Dre wasn't off of Death Row yet.
Death Row, no, he was off of Ruthless, but he wasn't off Death Row. So for that to have happened, you know, because Eazy passed in 95.
Yeah.
And Dre was still that was prime Death Row time. And
Suge wasn't gonna let none of that happen.
No, and I mean, at that particular time, as far as we knew, everything was cool, because 95, you know, they get Pac out of jail, and 96 comes, and, you know, All Eyes on Me comes. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, Pac unfortunately gets murdered in September of 96. So yeah.
Yeah, because if Pac and them, you know what, you're right, because he would have to literally have done fast track what he ended up doing with Suge by just saying, like, I don't want none of my I don't want no rights to none, I don't care, I just went off.
Right.
He would have had to maybe fast track that if they were gonna, or wait. I mean, we'd have to fast track this whole situation.
Most definitely.
But it would have been interesting with that. Now we take a turn to Ruthless Records.
Mm-hmm.
The record label of Ruthless Records, it never seemed to catch its wings as much as, I mean, and that's probably, and it's a lot of different empires, not just the record, that label, but it never got to keep its wings. Where's Ruthless Records at this point if Eazy's still alive?
If Eazy's still alive, Ruthless still it still thrives. But I think it may struggle, because you got to remember, eventually Dre leaves. See, Dre is also the missing piece there as well, because, you know, could Ruthless had survived without Ice Cube? Sure. Losing Dre was big. you know, because that was their production. And it's not to say that Eazy-E didn't have great, because, you know, the post NWA album that Eazy-E did was dope album. I mean, because he had some smokers on there, and I bought it, and it's still, you know, it's still rock, but it didn't have Dre. And so and I think a lot of people may have bought it because they're trying to see, you know, of course he had the real motherfucking G's on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people were listening to see if there was gonna be any more diss tracks or whatever like that. So it would have survived, but I just think not having Dre, Ruthless, it was gonna sound different. But Eazy, man, I mean, he was a businessman. I mean, he went out subsequently after that and found Bone Thugs and Harmony. We'd never seen it or heard anything like that.
So I mean, because who was all on that label? I'm pulling up now. At the time,
it should have been probably Michelle A.
Was she still on there then? But was she messing with
was
shoes already? No, she was on Death Row. Remember, she's on Dog Pound album.
Okay. Oh, you know, I'm sorry. I thought you said Death Row. Ruthless.
No,
okay,
no.
So,
I mean on Ruthless at the time.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So these are all the artists on Ruthless at the time.
Was JJ Fad on there? Were they still on there?
JJ Fad got off in 91. It says on here.
Okay.
So Cocaine, Above the Law.
Hey.
N.W.A.
Hoes with attitude. Hey, don't sleep on that Above the Law, man. Above the Law has
no. I mean, look, Black Superman is one of my favorite joints.
Talk to him.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, and 187 is like a dope producer too.
Mm-hmm.
He produced a lot of that Ruthless stuff on the low after Dre left.
Yep.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, obviously. Frost or Kid Frost, depending on how you want to name them. King T.
Oh, okay. Shout out to T.
Yeah. Cool 187 is the one that was producer.
Yeah, Cool 187.
Yep. And then DJ Unique was on there as well.
Okay.
Producer for Bone, newly known for Bone.
So not really a deep roster.
No.
Not
and
really.
I thought I read somewhere that will.i.am was on there at one point.
If he was, it was probably the it wasn't the will.i.am that we know.
No. Let's see. Yeah, I know, because I think in an interview he said that he was on Ruthless.
Yeah, I think he was. I just don't think he was in. I don't think it was that iteration. The iteration of
they were Black Eyed Peas were the whole group was on Ruthless.
Wow, that I did not know.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I knew he was. They were on there. They were another they started under the name Ataban.
The I Only Listen to 90s Music podcast is a show for 80s babies who were 90s kids. If you were a No Limit soldier, then this is your show. If you believe that Cash Money is not an army but was a Navy, this is the show for you. If you and your friends ever tried to sing a song written by Escape, In Vogue, Shy, or Boyz II Men at a talent show during middle school, this is your show. The I Only Listen to 90s Music podcast is a bunch of 80s babies talking about all the songs and things that we loved when we were kids and teenagers. So if you went to the skating rink and you were at a lock-in, this is the show for you. If you think that Tevin Campbell was the original Prince of R&B, this is the show for you. If you don't understand the conflict between Monica and Brandy, but you're kind of on Monica's side and understand why Brandy got punched, this is the show for you. Make sure that you tune in, subscribe, click the little subscribe link. We're here. We're going to talk about all things 90s music. This is the show for you.
I'd have been playing. And that was in 92 that they were on there.
Right.
So they were on there in 92. So, okay. That is what's up. Yeah, because I'm trying to look on here now because they have all the groups. At least it looked like they did.
Okay.
Another group they had on there that was like a low key, they had a little similar hit was a Menage a Trois.
Damn.
Remember they had a song called Cha Cha Cha. That was
I remember that.
It was big in my neighborhood on the box.
To be honest, that might be the only song they had. At least that's the only one I remember.
What's so crazy? I remember a couple of girls in my neighborhood bought the album.
Damn.
It was called Chilicious. Yeah, I'm looking it up now.
You had to be dedicated to buy those albums.
yeah. But it was, I mean, it has. I'm trying to remember. I know Cha Cha. I mean, La La La. It's not Cha Cha Cha. It was La La La. Was one of the singles. I'm trying to remember. It was another song that girls used to play on here a lot. Do What You Gotta Do.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was Eazy-E was trying to figure it out, y'all. For the label, and Bone brought him back. Let's keep it 100.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
No disrespect above the law either, but they weren't going.
I mean, they were. And Bone gave us something different that we had not experienced or seen in the rap game at that particular time.
Yeah, and because Bone Thugs that was totally different. But let the Memphis brothers tell me from 3-6 Mafia, they said that they stole their style and vice versa. Then Chicago gets involved as well.
That's always going to be a debate.
Yeah. Everybody, the double time, fast rapping, I think they all created in their own way. I just stay
out of it.
Yeah, and I think they all created in their own ways, man.
Exactly.
It was just one of those ideas that they say no idea is original. Y'all all kind of did it at the same time. Right. Because like you said earlier, what you talked about earlier, the people wanted to feel different, and that was a way to look different than just rhyming like Rakim. How about I rap fast? And then other people to start of it.
Exactly.
But with Bone Thugs and Harmony, I know older people, obviously we do. I don't know if the youngest know how big Bone Thugs and Harmony was and how big they were for Eazy-E and Ruthless Records.
They were. And it's just unfortunate that, you didn't get a chance to see, Eazy didn't get a chance to see and kind of benefit from their success. Because as they were taking off, he started getting sick and then eventually passed away. But yeah, man, Bone was huge. It was they were definitely like the rookies of the year that year that they came out, and it was just different. I mean, like I said, nobody had tried to rap like that. Nobody had to, incorporate those melodies and kind of singing, with the rapping and everything. So it was definitely different. And you found more people that like Bone that didn't like him. I knew a lot of. I mean, I bought the first 2 albums.
Yeah, no, I think I got the first 3 to be honest with you. I got the double
the first 2 albums. I can't even tell you what they saying.
Oh yeah, but you didn't get the Art of War double disc joint?
Nah, by that time I checked out.
Dang, that's got Thug Love on there. On there, it's got some joints on there. But you can tell they were.
I can't even tell you if I heard. I don't think I even heard that joint.
Oh yeah, you have. You definitely have.
I'm sure I've heard songs, like you said, Thug Love. I remember that song, but I'm trying to think. I don't think I've heard that full album.
Oh, I believe that album went a couple of times platinum too. I believe.
Okay.
It was a decent album. I mean, it was. You got to remember, this is the era where everyone was trying to do a double album. After Pac dropped All Eyes on Me, everybody was trying to do a double album, because after that you get Life After Death is a double. I think Art of War from Bone might be the 3rd double disc. I believe
there were quite a few people that did double albums.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like in the sequential order. I think they made it in the 3rd.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, the Art of War had I'm trying to think, the singles on there they had Look Into My Eyes, Thug Love, Body Rot, If I Could Teach the World, are the 4 singles off of there. They were trying to, but the thing was, they were trying to recreate like the Crossroads again. It felt like multiple times.
That's a once in a lifetime song, man.
Yeah, and I think If I Could Teach the World is like another version of
that was. Crossroads. But that was the wasn't that the version of like that Pepsi commercial?
Yes.
If I Could Teach the World. Oh,
no. But they redid it
like that. I ain't like that. They were swinging for the fences. Okay,
but I don't know if Bone would be as big though either. On the flip side, if Eazy-E was still around.
No doubt. Yeah, because I mean, the thing is, if Eazy-E lives, and I don't think that takes away from Bone Thugs and Harmony's success, but Eazy-E still is the biggest act on the label. And if you're the biggest act on the label, you're always going to outshine your artist. So even if he didn't try to, as long as he was making music, Eazy-E was going to outshine Bone. And again, that's no knock on Bone, but Eazy-E was just that big of a superstar, and Bone became stars in their own right. It's just unfortunate that as they, climbed the charts, Eazy wasn't around to see them and all of their success.
Okay, so now I'm reading up on this a little bit as in some of the notes I had here from some links. In the wake of his death, this is about the Art of War album with Bone. In the wake of his father's death and Tamika right now heading Ruthless Records, Busy was not happy and thus does not appear on many shows or promotions. Now calling the shots, many tracks were altered by Tamika Wright, attempted to head the group into a new direction. Such tracks include Thug Love, because the original Thug Love has Silky Fine on it with Pop. And they took her off. Then If I Could Teach the World, Friends, Ready for War, Handle the Vibe with Flesh and Bone and many others. A group. So basically, she came in and changed up some stuff on there. So it goes, maybe it lends to another direction now. If we get information like this, then maybe Bone would have been just as big, because maybe you have Tamika Wright not messing with things because that's her husband's label.
Right.
She's jumping in, doing things in the production. And I don't know anything. Tamika may know a grain of things, but I don't think she's known to have been able to know how to produce records. And so I could see how maybe I need to change my stance on this from looking at this, that maybe Bone would have actually even been bigger if Eazy was alive.
I mean, anything's possible. I just don't know that being on that label on Ruthless, as things were constructed, I don't know that they ever escape his shadows per se.
That's the thing. That's the drawback about on both sides, is that would they ever been able to get out of his shadow? Because look, I'm still gonna get these best beats. Y'all need to hold on.
Exactly.
I know y'all brought DJ Unique around, but he worked for Ruthless.
Exactly.
And I got a new diss track for Suge Knight. I got to drop by 9, so I need to go and get these brothers in here on that level with that. All right, so at least we fast forward, if Eazy was alive, do you think in this, how would Eazy-E embrace technology and stuff now? You think we talked about before in a previous show about podcast, Instagram would be and Twitter and stuff, it'd be ridiculously crazy, and we'd have to literally shut down his social media.
What's interesting is Eazy-E always struck me as a hustler, and then even after he passed, we heard more stories and we learned more about him because, let me go back. His passing was huge because up until then, anybody that we lost in rap, it was, something tragic or what have you, but never anybody like this. And you got to remember, Eazy dies in March of 95. And what's interesting is, I remember they had a press conference, and in the press conference, they told the world that he had HIV. And I mean, 2 weeks later, he was gone. So keep in mind, in 92 or 91, November of 91, Magic had the same press conference. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be honest, I sat and watched Magic's press conference, and I thought for sure, D, that was going to be the last time I ever saw Magic Johnson in my life. And Magic Johnson now has about 18 different championship rings at this point. And, I don't know the dynamics of, where he was in his HIV status or what have you. But that was a blow. It was a huge blow to, obviously Ruthless Records, obviously to the rap community, LA, because he was huge in LA and, widely loved by everybody, not just people in the music industry, not just fans, but I mean, gangsters on both sides of the flag. They loved Eazy-E. And so to lose him in the way in which we lost him, it made us question HIV. And keep in mind, medical science, we didn't have the information and the knowledge that we have about HIV AIDS that we do now. So it was, there was a huge rush of judgment. There was people obviously thinking that Eazy was gay, or at least that's what people were trying to put out there, because, for a lot of people, AIDS was a gay disease.
Yes.
At least that's the way people thought. And I want to preface that, because that's not the case, but that's what people thought back in 1995. And I'm telling 100%. You because I was around in 1995.
No. You're not lying. You're not lying at all.
And so it was huge to lose him. So, and lose him the way that we did. And like I said, D, it was very abrupt. It was literally maybe 2.5 weeks in between the time that they had that press conference and the time that he passed. And if I'm not mistaken, he wasn't at the press conference. I don't think he was. I don't remember seeing him. I can't remember. I'll put it like this. I can't remember the last time I saw him alive in public. And if he was as sick as people say that he was, he wouldn't have been at that press conference either way. Again, I don't remember. He could have been there, but I don't remember, at least from what I remember seeing. I don't remember seeing him at the press conference. Nonetheless, I said all that to say this. It was a huge blow. If he lives, the trajectory of everything changes, because now maybe Dre's career changes. If there's a reconciliation, if there's reconciliation, maybe they bring Q back into the fold. Maybe not in a group per se, but I think we do get another record. And where Dre is, Snoop is as well. So if, let's say, Eazy-E lives, and let's say Eazy-E gets away from Jerry Heller, I think that's possible. And if he gets away from Jerry Heller and starts his own thing, I could see Snoop coming along. I could see Dre coming along. Maybe not Q, but I could see that happen.
Q's got his own stuff. He got what he had. What did he have? Lynch Mob Records and all that stuff.
Yeah, he had already had his, and we didn't know it at the time, but Q was starting to write scripts. So at that point in time, he's already done Boys in the Hood, and so Boys in the Hood takes off, and so now not only is he acting, but he's starting to write scripts, and he's eventually going to write, movies like Friday. So it's
right. Yeah, Friday's right. He's writing Friday around this time.
So it's so his career is taking a different turn away from music into to movies, and so everybody's making something happen. And Eazy-E just struck me as a hustler, man. I just think, like, had he lived, I think I don't know if he'd still be rapping today, but I could see him having a hand in a bunch of things because Eazy was just that kind of businessman.
So I need to maybe make an apology to Tamika. So allegedly she worked with Clarence Avant at Taboo Records for a long time.
There you go. I mean,
and
that's the godfather
which is one of the dope record labels of the 80s. Well, you got to remember that had SOS Band, Sherelle. What's the woman that does So To Be Real?
Cheryl Lynn.
Cheryl Lynn was on there, I believe.
Yep.
And Alexander O'Neal. So okay, Tamika Wright, I apologize.
Saturday.
If that is the case that you worked under the great Clarence Avant.
They didn't call him the Godfather for nothing.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know if you should have been changing some of them beats for that Bone Thugs Harmony album as well at the same time. We'll just say that too. Like both can be true at the same time.
Exactly.
So I mean, and now I'm going to flip you with this. What if Eazy does still has AIDS or HIV? I mean, let's say he has HIV, not flu-borne AIDS.
Okay.
Do we even find out? If he keeps living, do we even find out?
Now that's a good question. I think the only way we don't find out is that he keeps it to himself and don't tell anybody.
Right, but I'm saying I can see a world where
we could, because if you think about it like this, because there was no social media, and if he keeps it tight within his family or his inner circle, because at that point, there was a lot of homophobia in rap, a lot of homophobia in our community. So even someone who was thought of to be this big time gangster, if the word had gotten out at that particular time that he had HIV/AIDS, people are gonna be looking at him funny. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate to say that, but that's what they would be doing, and also treating him differently. We saw that happen with Magic. When Magic announced that he had HIV, retired, went to the 92 All-Star game, balled out, became the MVP, played on the Dream Team. And then I think it was like 93, 94. He tried to come back to the NBA, and you had people like, for what it's worth, an idiot like Karl Malone saying, I don't want to play with him.
And lo and behold, look at his life.
Man, listen, nobody likes Karl Malone, man. And for good reason. For good reason. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Go and do a quick Google search.
It'll be right there at the top of the page.
Yeah. So and I just wonder if we wouldn't have never known You know,
That's possible. I mean, because like you said, it wasn't like how it is now where everything's public. I could see a world where he could have kept that to himself and kept it quiet. And if he kept it quiet and you know, wasn't in and out of the hospital and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, that's very possible.
Now, another question for you here is we take our journey. If Eazy is still here, how does the East Coast West Coast beef go along? Does he play any role in it? Because like random people was jumping in it, ladies and gentlemen. It was really only two guys. But I mean, Ice Cube jumped into a West Side connection with Bow Down and West Side Slaughterhouse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like other people wouldn't just. It was literally two coasts. There was some Northern Cali cats jumping on it. I think the Loonies sent out some disses too. You know, then you had LA from other cats on the East Coast and the component and CNN. Do you think that Eazy would have just sat on the sideline, or do you think he would have been in this, or he about his money?
Listen, if the East Coast West Coast beef was happening, and Eazy-E was Eazy-E, he would have been in the middle of it.
Ooh. Now, keep in mind, his artist is on both. It's been on both people's albums though too. That's how I was wondering, would he just stay out of?
Yeah, I mean, like it was from what I gather from people that I know that live out there. Like it was us against the world, and so
okay, he'd have threw the flag.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, you got to ride for the West. You know, it was kind of like what happened with Kendrick. You know, it's people that probably don't even listen to Kendrick's music like that, but
it's us against them.
Yeah, it's us against them, and I mean, like you always gonna and keep in mind at that particular time, rap really was starting to branch out. It wasn't as regional as it had been. Because if you think about it, like when Eazy-E and N.W.A. came out in 87, 88, it was very regional. So New Yorkers, they didn't want to hear that West Coast shit. They was like, man, this shit is whack. It's trash. He can't rap. I mean, like, and you probably, if you do a poll, you probably have some people who have some revisionist history about how they feel about Eazy. Of course, they're not going to say nothing bad about the deceased right now. But when Eazy was alive and rapping, they ain't like him because New York had its own, I won't say all of New York, but a lot of people in New York had their own biases. So if you wasn't rapping like Rakim, if you wasn't rapping like LL, and you was rapping this country shit or this West shit, no, they wasn't right. They wasn't checking for you like that. So, you know, it was N.W.A. I mean, couldn't be denied. Eazy couldn't be denied, but they had their detractors as far as the music was concerned, but you couldn't deny it. And they were superstars. But I think had that beef been going on and brewing right around that time, and yeah, Eazy would have been in the middle of it, waving the West Coast flag.
Okay, so I just wondered if he'd have been like, oh no, that's on Dre and them.
No.
Okay, good point.
Because you got to take a side. I mean, like it was literally they looked at it like us against them, and you know it was easy to take a side because you know, and some people don't want to admit this, but you know, like I said, New York hip hop, they look down on everybody.
They do.
They look down on you from New Jersey.
They weren't, but they did.
They look down on you from New Jersey, and that's right across the water. So, you know, anything beneath Philly was country, and anything out west was trash, and you know, and anything in the South was trash. So they didn't. Yeah, I could definitely see Eazy-E in the middle of. Now maybe he's not making any diss records at anybody per se, but he's definitely standing on top of the mountain next to the Hollywood sign, waving the West Coast flag.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you think about it with that of like how Eazy would be, because I could see Eazy trolling. Like y'all don't understand. Like y'all think that 50's a troller. I can imagine.
I could definitely see that.
Like he went to it was a Republican, or was it the George Bush, the president's dinner, right? It was like a fun, like he donated random money somewhere and they invited him.
Yep.
And then that's where Cube does the thing. I would never give dinner with
the president. Yep.
And then you got to think he also he go back on the and watch the episode of Arsenio Hall where he comes out in a bathrobe and flip-flops for the interview. before he does real motherfucking G's and disses Dre.
He was a jokester, man. And you know what? You know what's interesting? Even what you said about the president thing, like, and that just goes to show you the difference in the times. I was around when it happened. I remember it, but I don't remember when it happened. Like, as opposed to now, if you go have a dinner with the dude in the White House now, everybody will know. You know,
well, he loves to put it out there on you though, too. Though he loves,
of course. I mean, but what I'm saying is, like, with the advent of social media, there's no way that we don't know.
Yeah.
I do remember, like I said, Eazy. I remember someone mentioning it, but it wasn't like, it didn't make the news. It wasn't like on the radio or anything like that. It's something we heard about secondhand. And I want to say, like, for me, I probably heard about it weeks after it happened. Oh yeah, Eazy-E had dinner with the president, but it didn't really resurface until Ice Cube dissed him in No Vaseline.
And then people was like, "Oh, he did have dinner with the president."
Exactly.
Hey, y'all, that beef, the way the beef changed that, and we was like, he did have it with them, you know.
It changed everything. I always say, man, to me, I think No Vaseline is the best diss record ever. And it garnered no response from N.W.A. They ended up breaking up.
So if Eazy was alive, this is our last point here. Any of the new West Coast artists, was Eazy have signed some of these new West Coast artists? Does he sign a Nipsey or Kendrick or Ab-Soul, or I'm trying to think of some other, Draco the Ruler, like those kind of it's Ruthless in the forefront of this for the West Coast.
I don't know if they're in the forefront because, like, their roster really wasn't that deep, and let's just assume that Death Row stays intact.
Yes.
So if you have, but what I could see, D, I could see if Eazy-E had still lived. Rock with me on this. I could see a situation where you have a battle of LA or the battle of the West Coast as far as the record labels in Death Row and Ruthless, as far as the artists, and they're kind of sharing the same city, like how Cash Money and No Limit did. I could see that happening.
Okay.
I could definitely see that happening. And not necessarily any beef between the record labels, but I could see them with healthy competition, you know. And so for that to happen, he would have to find him a YG or a Nipsey or somebody like that, because what they had on the label wouldn't have been able to carry it. And again, assuming that Death Row stays together, if Death Row is intact, you're gonna need a lot to catch up with them, because Death Row had a stranglehold on hip hop for a couple of years.
They had like 3 years on lock.
I mean, like, you couldn't. I mean, like, they dominated radio. Like, I at this time, I'm in my hometown of Florence, South Carolina. We're hearing "Ain't No Fun" if the homies can't have of course, the clean version on the radio.
Right, but I mean, how clean can you make that?
Bro, it was beeps all the way through the song.
Yeah, you might as well just play it.
You might as well not even play it, because it's just not even worth it. But
yeah,
I mean, but Death Row was, I mean, from Dre to Snoop, and then they had Pac, Dog Pound. Bro, it was Lady of Rage. It was gonna be tough. But I mean, you know, but it's also, and we talked about this before, it's also a domino effect, because Dre leaving, starting Aftermath, he goes out, he finds an Eminem, he finds a 50 Cent, and look at the tentacles from which that came. So, you know, had Eazy lived, I would have hoped that he and Dre and Cube and Yella and Ren would have reconciled and brought the group back together. How they would have done business would have been interesting, and where they would have been as a group, or even if let's just say they did a couple of songs together. Where do you put it? Do you put it on Ruthless? You know, where Dre don't trust he don't trust Jerry? Do you put it on Death Row, where Eazy don't trust Suge? So you would have had to probably have some type of independent thing in the mix, or something that they did collectively to put it out, because their respective camps didn't like each other.
Yeah, they didn't like each other.
Or at least the heads of the camps.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You make a great point with that. All right. Well, man, let us know what y'all think of this hip hop What If about the great Eazy, Eric Eazy-E, right? Where can people hit you up and check out your stuff, Kyle?
All over, man. Got 2 podcasts, the 12 Kyle podcast and the Rap Soul podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, that's where you can find me. And they are both free. So check them out. You can catch me on social media at 12 Kyle.
All right. Well, man, thank y'all for listening. As always, you can hit us up also at hiphopwhatifs at gmail.com. And then make sure you hit us on the voicemail line, 314-649-3113. And we'll see y'all soon. Peace.
5,000.
What if DOC never got into that car accident? What if Ice Cube didn't leave N.W.A? What if the game never leaves G Unit? What if Teddy Riley never moves to Virginia? What if we got that J. Cole and Kendrick album? What if the RZA would have never had that flood? How would the hip-hop world sound today? Welcome to Hip Hop What Is, the podcast where we dive into the biggest what could have beens in hip-hop history. From iconic album delays to game-changing partnerships that never happened. We reimagine the culture we love and explore its alternative paths. And you are now at Hip Hop What Ifs.